Hello. Okay, I don't have these fonts. It's not a big deal because when you save it out as a JPEG, it will flatten your fonts. So looking at your piece, okay, so instead of this bumpy line work for the apple, you want it that the goal is to use as few points as possible. So you can actually just go in and delete a ton of them and get your smooth lines. See what I'm doing? I'm taking away the edges and it's automatically becoming smoother. So if the angle gets to be too extreme, you click and hold on the anchor point tool. The pen tool, you get this little triangle. And then you click on the points and you get these Bezier handles. If you click and drag, you can see what they do. They make kind of a weird shape on the apple. But if you're real careful with it, you can reverse points so that they're not angled anymore. You just pull these handles to sort of add width and move them around a bit. So those are two methods for making a smoother surface. So you can see I need to do it down here on the edge of the bottom of the apple. And I also think there's too many points here, so maybe get rid of that one. You don't need all these points. So just keep working on it very carefully to make the apple as smooth as possible. Anyway, so from there, you would put in a radial gradient to make it look like there's sun on it. Here is the gradient tool. Double click on that, you get the gradient window. So automatically it'll add the terrible default of black and gray. If you double click on these little boxes, you get the color window. Let's see, I want to see swatches. So a red, and then over here, maybe, what do apples go from sort of a red to an orange? Maybe. So you can see that already helps. However, it makes my apple look flat. What I want is a radial gradient. And that way, it'll give me a highlight and I can move this arm around a little bit. So let's see how that looks at 100%. So that does look a little more three-dimensional, but I want to add a little bit more. So I'm going to also add, I'm going to make another little box on here. I'm going to add a highlight. So that's even better, a super shiny apple. Maybe the shine is a little bit too bright though. It doesn't look like a real apple. So what you would do is you just pull out this gradient slider so that the highlight is less hot, is what they call that. You can also rotate it. It's still too white, so I'm going to double click on the box. And instead of that white, I can do an off-white that kind of goes into the gray arena, which I wouldn't want to do. I can go into green a little bit. I can go into orange. I can reduce the opacity. That doesn't seem to really help though. So what I want to do is perhaps maybe a yellow gradient that's a little bit closer to white, somewhere in the middle. So that's something you can adjust. You can also move these around and see what happens. I actually kind of like that. One thing you don't want to do is put a highlight too close to an edge because then it flattens it out. So you want to maintain that radial quality. All right, so you do the same thing with these grapes. And actually you don't need to do 100 of them. You really just need to do one. So, and then just copy and paste it. But because my highlight on my apple is right here on the left side, you want to repeat that and do it over there as well. Okay, so what's going on with these grapes? They are grouped. So let me ungroup them. Select, Command Shift G. That ought to ungroup them. All right, so now I'm not sure how. Okay, never mind. I was going to say I'm not sure how you created these because it really wouldn't let me do it. So as you can see, obviously we don't want red grapes. So you just get in here and change I don't know, you want green ones, so maybe the darkest part is like right there. Double click. Grapes or like that sorta. And then the lightness, I don't know if you want it to be yellow, you probably don't. You want it to be white, but maybe buy the green. So that color's not great. It's a little too acidy, but you know, of course, that's something you can adjust. So from here, you grab the handle, make it bigger or smaller. You can also rotate it. You grab it, kind of put it where you want it to be. If you pull it out, it makes the highlight smaller or bigger, depending on how you pull it. So there's one. It's not perfect, but I think you've got the idea, right? So copy paste, copy paste. Grapes obviously aren't all super similar, so you want to make some of them bigger, some of them a little odd, some of them smaller, etc. Right? You want the variety. But one thing to keep in mind is once you set your highlight origin, you want to do that throughout so it looks natural. So finally, I think the shape of your banana is really good except for this hard edge right here. You just, you know, the whole thing about illustration is you just got to put more time into it. I think you had the right idea right here along this edge, but then you kind of gave up and you did this and you stopped and you did a couple more and you stopped. But clearly you need to do a little bit more throughout. Make it look like individual planes, have them go different colors, etc. You just got to put a lot more time into it. All right, let me know if you have any questions.